Welcome to Brightly, You Radiant Being, the show that wildly recognizes, encourages, and invests in the radiance we all carry so you can shine your brightest. We're just a couple curious people interested in friendship, ideas, and personal development. This is a show that strives to speak to the curious, to those who long to explore new ways of thinking, reflecting, and being. Through sharing our experiences, friendship, and interests, we hope to impact you to step more brightly into yourself, inch by inch.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Tracy. Oh my goodness.
What a busy time of year. We're at yet another cycle or approaching another cycle.
Yes. So last time we talked, well, 2 times ago, we talked about the new moon. And then last time we talked about midsummer, summer solstice, Litha, all the names.
Turning,
yes.
The earth keeps rotating, thankfully.
Yeah. Thank you. And now, this time we're going to talk about the full moon. So I loved I loved the overview you gave 2 episodes back. Was it 24?
Mm-hmm.
On not just the new moon, but you started out with like all the phases of the moon and the different things you could apply during those phases.
Yeah, because the new moon really kicks it off.
Yes.
And don't feel like if we're approaching the full moon when you're listening to this, like, oh no, I can't do the full moon things. No, you can. You don't have
you
to.
Can.
But yes, definitely if you're interested in learning more about the cycles, listen to the new moon one.
Because I'm not going to repeat all those because why? It was a beautiful thing that you did for episode 24. So, and we're hoping that this is just kind of a general guide, but we'll probably talk a little bit about this specific full moon as well, but it can be used for any full moon. This particular full moon is going to be the last super full moon of 2021. So that seems big, right? I don't know. And it also, for this particular full moon, is known as the strawberry moon. And that term is used by the Algonquin, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Lakota peoples. And I got that from the Farmer's Almanac.
And I wonder, I could Google, but I'm going to wonder aloud on a very public podcast with absolutely no research. I wonder if it gets a pinky hue this time of the year, and sometimes super moons do, and maybe that's why it's called the strawberry moon.
Well, so
reading between the last time we talked, and they would call it the rose moon.
Yeah, I think it does have a pink hue, but they call it the strawberry moon because this time of year is when the berries are becoming ripe. Yeah.
And I'm going berry picking the week after this.
I know.
Am I in line with the cycles?
You are on brand. But I did want to talk about one other. So a European name for this moon is the honey moon. And because it's in June, some people speculate that because June, historically has had a lot of weddings, they wonder if the honeymoon is the honeymoon. Then that's
so sweet. Even if it's not a thing.
So that's why we call it a honeymoon.
A honeymoon. Why
so anyways,
call it that? That's so beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that.
Isn't that cool? Well, it's amazing what you can find out when you Google stuff.
So we talk a lot about cycles, right? And living in line with cycles, but we also talk a lot about like taking what resonates for you and what you need in your own individual cycle. So some of this stuff, and I brought this up in episode 24, and we really don't have to say that every time. Just go listen to our episodes 1 through 24 were great. Check them out. But we talked about how sometimes I don't feel drawn to do new moon stuff. Sometimes I don't feel drawn to do full moon stuff. There's some periods in my life where I only do stuff at the full moon. So definitely kind of take what resonates and feel into the year. But what I like about us talking about the full moon right now in June 2021 is our last episode was all about Litha and like embracing the light. And the full moon, we call it full because it's so full of light. And so it really just kind of flows into that and how we can capitalize on that light of the moon and what to do with it.
I love that. So I am going to steal just a couple things from the new moon episode, just to remind people that the full moon is sort of all about wish fulfillment, like what you set the intention for with the new moon. This is now, like the fulfillment of it. It's also blessings, celebration, gratitude. It's sort of the peak energy, perfect for ideas. Yeah. It's not always great for manifesting, but honestly, I think Tracy, you probably agree with me. If you want to manifest during a full moon, you do it. So then I would just, some things that I actually do during a full moon. And just like you said 20 seconds ago, it's not every full moon. Sometimes I miss it. Sometimes I don't do it. But typically I will charge my stuff. So I'll put my tarot cards in the windowsill. I'll put my crystals outside under the full moon to charge them. I will put them too. And cleanses them. Yes, you're right. I did finally make moon water. So I filled up glass jars with water and I put them under the light of the moon. And now I have moon water for, I can add it to my bath. I can make room sprays with it. So it's basically just sort of like you've charged the water with the power of the full moon.
And when I've done it, I've drank it, and you're supposed to, and so definitely pick a vessel or vessels that can do this, but have a little bit for so many days, and you say your intentions with it, and then you drink it, and you're drinking the power.
That is so beautiful. I didn't think to drink it. I don't know why. I was scared to drink it.
Well, and definitely living in Minnesota, I like to put it outside. You can definitely put on your windows. But I have this one glass container that I use for it. That's perfect. It holds the amount I want for what I use it for. But so when I put it outside in the moonlight, definitely, I'm not doing that December through March. It's a little cold, but I love it October and through November because it's nice and chilled, right? I can drink it right away. I don't have to.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Outside cooled.
So if you're doing it during the spring and summer, do you put the cap on it when you have it outside?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I think of the bugs.
Yeah. So my pitcher has a little rubber stopper at the top of it. I've heard some people just recommend whatever water you're using, even if you're doing it for blessings in the home, just put cheesecloth at the very least over it.
Sure.
Because it will attract bugs in the instance of homes, cats. They'll either knock it over or drink from it, which
exactly
that could be a blessing in and of itself too. But if you have kids or pests or pets, water is its life, right? So it'll attract things. But yeah, I cover mine.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I did put the cap on, but then I sort of was freaked out about it too. Oh, will the energy get to it? But once again, do what feels right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Do what feels right. So thinking about this full moon, think about anything that's come full circle. And when I actually wrote that, when I wrote that in the notes, I went, wait, full circle. So full is the lunation. The moon is full and circle is the literal shape of the moon. Okay.
I wonder if that's where that comes from. I could Google it, but I'm not.
I know.
Put it on the comments if you know that, but full circle.
Isn't that cool? But thinking back to the new moon, what has sort of what's been filled up for you during this time. And if you're super organized, like we were talking about during the new moon episode, is if you can think back 6 months to maybe what
were your intentions 6 months
what your intentions were. Yeah. So this full moon, particular full moon, which is the 24th of June, is the full moon in Capricorn. So if you were going to do the 6 months, it would have been the new moon in Capricorn. And I think it was January 13th. Okay. So that's 6 months ago. So what was happening around that time? You can kind of think
of that. January was 6 months ago. Where did the year go?
Right?
Where did the year go? Okay. That's a
Honestly,
different episode.
sorry.
Time is a social construct. I'm just going to ignore that for now and have a little.
Okay. I love how you say that almost every
when
episode. And I think you say it just to remind yourself, like, it's not real. It's not true. Time is made up. Everything's like that.
Amy,
But
I don't know if I brought it up to you or on the show before, but every Thursday I wake up and I was like, oh my God, it's Thursday. What have you done with your life? Every Thursday without fail. To the point, like there's Russian Doll, great TV show on Netflix. She has a line, she's kind of in a Groundhog Day experience and she's just like, Thursday, what a concept. I was like, right?
Okay. I feel like I'm getting deja vu with this. So I know that either you and I have talked about it.
Well, there's
but
also
Russian
Douglas
Doll,
Adams also says I never did get the hang of Thursdays. So I feel like the universe, that people collectively as a whole kind of have many. Anyways, January was 6 months ago. What were you, what were you intending back then?
Yeah.
Do you remember? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I think I was just like intending, I think we were all just still in the throes of, well, first of all, think back to January 13th. Okay.
Oh my God, the 4 Wednesdays of January. It was a very stressful time.
It was so stressful. And I don't know why I'm laughing, because I probably start crying.
Because it's true.
It's true. It was so stressful. So you know what? Let's not think back to January 13th.
We had some great intentions. We wanted the world to be different, and
yes,
it's changing, right? Or
and it is different
in some areas.
So one of the things, I was I last year year old when I finally figured out that, like, oh, the moon is actually in a zodiac sign during all these different phases, and it's typically in the sign for like 2. Yeah. Now sometimes it can be like 2.5 days. It's in a sign.
Sometimes it's a void moon because it appears to move backwards or something, kind of like a retro.
Right. But so this full moon, like I said, will be in Capricorn. And so it kind of gives it a different personality. So each full moon and each new moon, even though you can say this is a full moon and these are the things you can do with it, if you look to see what sign it's in, it sort of gives you a little indication of what you could possibly expect from it, right?
So Capricorn, it's an earth sign.
Mm-hmm.
They're, to me, the ambitious one, very goal oriented, like Virgo on steroids, you know, like
they're very much, yeah, they're orderly, they're not stern, but like disciplined, things like that. They are going to get things done, right? They're going to get things done. And I think I've got just a little thing from the book, You Were Born for This by Chani Nicholas. She's a great astrologer. Capricorn
She creates these beautiful horoscope driven Spotify playlists that if you like new music, they're amazing. So definitely look her up on Spotify, and she has an app and a website and now a book. And
I have I have the app. I check the website. I check the app every day. I've got the book. So Capricorn initiates discipline in order to accomplish great feats through its ability to utilize the tools, Earth, because it's an Earth sign. It has access to, its ability to utilize the tools it has access to. Capricorn develops the self-restraint necessary to climb any mountains. So I just thought that was a really good description of what Capricorn is like. So maybe thinking back, like, have you initiated any disciplines or any structure in your life over the last 6 months? We all probably have. But typically for any full moon, it's the time to let go, right? To release. So thinking about things that you no longer want to hold on to, whether it's tangible, intangible, especially if you've done the last episode, that midsummer solstice check-in, right? So what are you done with, right? What can you release in order to create space for something better? Sometimes I think we forget about that when we actually release things and let things go, we're allowing space for something better.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This a lot. how do you release the things that no longer serve you?
Well,
How do you
that's a
release control in general? But how do you release? Do you have a process for it?
well, I have many processes for things like that, but I mean, the thing that I do the most for full moons is I will write it out with intention on a piece of paper and I burn it. And I'm literally releasing that out. However, to actually release it, you need to do more than write it on a piece of paper and burn it. Because otherwise, that would be super easy.
There's some behaviors that have to change, some thoughts that need to be replaced.
Yes. And I think that for me, releasing things it's an ongoing process. But the things that have helped me the most are checking in with myself, journaling, meditation. So I might even literally meditate on what's the next best thing to do to release this. I'm going to use my tarot cards because, we love to do that, because sometimes that you might just need that little extra push. Like, what's the first thing I need to do? And, I mean, depending on what card you get, you can read things into it. Or there's another way to use tarot. You can choose your own card to say, once I release something, this is sort of what I will, this is how I will be, or what?
Replace it with?
Exactly. Either replace it with, or this is the image of myself that I will be once I've released that. And then that's sort of your goalpost, right? That's what you're looking for then.
I love all those things. Cause you definitely, you have to be in tune with yourself and why you're connected with whatever it is that you want to let go of, why it's not just leaving on its own in the first place, why it's affecting you. You have to know that. You can't just, release it into the ether and be like, it's not mine anymore.
Yeah. And I think it depends on,
our brains like to stay attached to things, right? Especially if you haven't picked something easier.
It's easier to stay attached to something because when you release something, you do have that void then, right?
Yeah. So for me, most recently when a friend asked, like, how do I release, in this current situation, they said, it's about not having an expectation. So for me, that's stopping those thoughts when I get them. What are the things you're getting excited about? What are the things you're hoping to have happen that really don't have any grounds in reality anymore, right? Or that just don't serve you or aren't helping you let something go. And so by managing your expectations first, and just like I said, like a stop thought when but you have to have something to replace it with. And it's not necessarily something better, but something else.
Right. Something else. You're right. I think I'm going to go back to the journaling thing too, that maybe before you write it out on a pretty piece of paper and burn it, to journal about the fact, like, this is something I want to release. Like, why have I been, if you can actually ask yourself the questions, like, what am I gaining by holding on to this? Like, what do I think I'm like, oh, is this, if I hold on to this thing that doesn't serve me, do other people look at me and go, oh, I should help her because she's got this thing that obviously she can't do this other thing because of, like, so what gains, or what do you see if you hold on to this? If you can actually look at something and say, oh, I see, I think I am actually winning at something by holding on to this, and neither one is a good thing or a healthy thing. So if you can dig deep and keep asking yourself questions, and maybe even to the point, like, who would I have to be in order to release this? And just start, maybe you just release a little piece of it each full moon. Right. Maybe that would be easier. But I think that oftentimes, even though we think something, like, say you can't, let's just say you don't like what you do for a living. Say you can't find the job that you really want, right? Why can't you? What is it that you actually are benefiting from not finding this good job? Like, what are the benefits? And I think if you dig deep, like you'll see, like, oh, whatever, I don't ever have to pay for other people's things, or because they know I don't have a good job. No one expects anything of me. I get to be, free and loose because I can't afford these other things. No, so there are benefits. We create
So holding
benefits
yourself
around
back.
for holding yourself back. And that's a hard thing to look at, right?
Yeah, because I was picturing more too, especially, so it sounds like you have to do the self-awareness work first, the shadow work first.
Shocking.
You have to do the work. And then the burning is the ceremony of it, right? And also
Yes.
to a point in how I like to do it too is, whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, but that's also the point when I'm like, hey, something bigger than me, I need help with this, right?
Yes.
So I'm also, kind of asking for help to the universe, letting it go in a really, ceremonial fashion.
It is that Jesus take the wheel moment, right?
And I feel like the part people skip with this releasing what no longer serves us is then allowing yourself to grieve the loss while also figuring out what you want to manifest or create or replace it with.
Because not only are you do have to grieve the loss, because the loss of that thing, and then the loss of the benefits that somehow you attach to it, right?
And I feel like releasing that which no longer serves you, it's hard, but it's so monumental in like elevating to the next step. So when I think of these types of, full moon ceremonies, what no longer serves me is, why does so and so no longer love me, right? Like, why do I keep going back to my ex or this, this person who's clearly not good for me? So instead of just, doing like a cord cutting ceremony or, burning their name on a piece of paper, if you do that work first, it's the rejection that's bugging you. Who's to say this person is the only person who can love you, right? They clearly can't love you the way that you want and need to be loved, right? It's the loss of being able to show your love to someone else. And we do, not to say people are disposable, but if you're in situations like that and you do the work first, you recognize like, oh, maybe it wasn't just them that I liked, but how they made me feel. So I'm going to release the they from it so that I can allow in how I want someone to make me feel.
That just made me think about with the full moon that it shines a light on things. And maybe during that full moon with that light, or a few days before it and a few days after it with that extra light, maybe it's easier to see these things that you do need to shine a light on and to look at closely. And
I get energy at that time of year too. And people, they don't really know the cause of it, but people tend to have insomnia more during full moons. You tend to see weirder hospital and jail admissions and things like that, because people are more active, both because you can see more because it's lighter, but our bodies are primarily made of water, so we're gonna respond kind of similar to the ocean, right? So
the pull of the moon,
right? I have the energy, and especially the mental energy, to do that work. I don't always want to, but I
that's such a good point.
Capacity to do the work to release. Whereas the new moon, I typically prepare a week or two in advance, or just kind of have a running list of intentions because I'm kind of tired, right? Like it's more of an inward feeling. But the full moon, I'm ready for it. I have great energy during full moons, especially for me, when the moon sign falls in my moon sign and my sun sign, which is, they're back to back in the horoscope, so maybe that's why for me I have even more energy on those days in general, but especially the full moon amps that up.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because when the moon is in my sign, so would it be the full moon, or would it be the new moon, or would it be either?
Any day that the moon is in your sign, regardless of cycle. but whatever cycle it is will be even more amplified for
Oh,
you.
that's right. That's right. Okay. Got
So
it.
I know for me, that's partly a huge reason why I got into looking at the cycles of the moon. I still have a lot to learn. I'm not a scholar by any means of La Luna. But I started to notice trends energy wise, and when it dipped and when I had great energy. And when I started looking at some of these moon phase apps and stuff like that, oh, lo and behold, whenever the moon is in Leo and Virgo, I am super productive and high energy. And so when I look at like my work schedule or projects for home or stuff like that, I know I'm going to knock it out of the park those days. So if I can manage to schedule certain things, I'm going to, or at least I'm going to make sure I have some stuff scheduled so I don't waste it. And then consequently, like there are other moons where I know I feel dreamier or kind of sad, like the Pisces moons. I'm just like,
Yeah.
all in my head. And I was like, I'm going to try real hard not to have big meetings those days or have to be preparing for things on those days. Because I know my head is not there. It's not in it.
So folks can actually you can either do an app, you can sign up for actual calendars, like a monthly calendar with the moon phases. It's it's interesting to start paying attention to the moon and what's happening. And like the days you were talking about with the void moon, how you want to avoid certain things during the void moon, right? Um, it's sort of, I would never want anyone to get overwhelmed with it, but it is interesting just to start to pay a little bit of attention to it. And even if it's just like the new moon and the full moon, and that's the only thing that you're paying attention to right now, I think you'll notice things in your life.
Well, even if you're not like, if you're like astrology, whatever, I get that, but they don't know why certain things happen to us, but like our bodies and social movements and like I said, like crime goes up and other things during solar flares, during the different cycles of the moon. Like there is kind of this ramp up and then this slowing down, and so there's some science behind it. The moon definitely affects our bodies of water around the world. And so
the tides,
like,
I mean, my goodness, yes.
Why wouldn't it affect us as well? So I don't know. I think it's fascinating, but I definitely, for other health reasons, I started tracking my mood and my energy levels because I was seeing definite trends that didn't just account for the typical I'm a lady, 28 days stuff.
Right.
And so I had to be tracking it medically to kind of prove what was going on or highlight what was going on. And I noticed some themes unrelated to my health that correlated to the moon. And usually I'm like, oh, correlation doesn't equal causation. But the more I looked into it, it happens to a lot of people if they're, whether or not you're aware of it. And I would rather plan my life in a way when I can, where I can capitalize on it, right? Where I can understand,
right?
Like that's the whole purpose of all these moon journals and these episodes is like, if you can live your life according to these cycles, certain things will just be easier. It's not that you have to do it. It's not that you'll don't, but the energy of your mind and your body and your soul will oftentimes kind of correlate. And yeah,
I have an app now on my phone that lets me know if it's a good day for a haircut or not. And it correlates to the moon
app.
Is it Moonly?
No, it's not Moonly, but that's very common. I think it's there's a lot of Chinese or Asian practices around that, or even, I mean, Kundalini yoga. There's a lot that your hair holds energy, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of religions that don't believe in cutting hair or only cutting hair at certain times, but it can be auspicious for you to when to color your hair, when to cut your hair.
I gotta make sure my next appointment is set for the right time.
Well, and then there are even certain days, and I don't know if it's the astrology or the moon, where your certain parts of your body are affected more. And so if you need surgery or medical care on one of those, it's like advisable or unadvisable to do that.
Yeah. And then I have that as well.
Yeah. So a lot of the horoscopes, so Virgo also rules the stomach. So if you know a Virgo and they got an anxious stomach, it makes sense. Like it's not every Virgo, and you can have an anxious stomach and not be a Virgo, but there's a lot of this little mystical stuff that it goes back to Aristotle and Plato, right? Like astrology isn't a belief system. It's just where the stars are in the sky and the correlations people have noticed
Mm-hmm.
over millennia with it.
Right.
Maybe millennia is too long, but it's fun to think about that. I like these cycles and other stuff because it's something bigger than me, right? Like I like feeling small. It's why I go hiking in the woods. It's why like going to the redwood forest is one of my favorite things. Being under a beautiful sky or near the ocean, like
Mm-hmm.
the moon, pretty massive. You know, there's just something bigger than me that can
Mm-hmm.
either help or maybe is oh, I have insomnia today. Oh, that La Luna. It's not me. It's La Luna. Okay.
Well, and I think, another cool thing, and I didn't write any notes about this too, but it is important because I started thinking about being a kid and being in the car and thinking that that it was following me, right? I always thought that the moon was following me. It's like apparently I had very grandiose thoughts as a child.
No, that's totally what it looks like though. I have a feeling I have that thought too. One of my favorite things to do in the summer, it started last year, but so I go up to the North Shore, which is a 2 to 4 hour drive for a hike, and I'll just make a day trip out of it. So I'll leave at like 3:30, 4 a.m. And I'll never forget. It was probably last year about this time. I was driving north on 35, very straight line, and I had the full moon setting on my driver's side and the sun rising on my passenger. And there was this mist, and I was like, this magical moment was made for me because I am the only person on 35 right now. And then I kept trying to recreate it, but as we learned with Letha and the Wheel of the Year, it kind of changes and the world rotates and our tilt changes and stuff like that. But it's when you can find those moments, or I love during these super moons to look up the photography because maybe it wasn't super, here in Minneapolis, but there was somewhere in Turkey where it looked like you could touch it,
Right.
It was absolutely huge.
It's amazing.
There's great photographers out there and just
yes.
they're just always inspirational. Like who doesn't like the moon? I mean, love stories are written about it, and we're both looking at the same moon, like no matter where we are in the world at a certain time.
It's sort of that romantic trope too, as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you and I are looking at the same moon, but no, I loved your question. Who doesn't like the moon?
Who doesn't like the moon? What
doesn't?
do you, buddy?
Right? Exactly.
It was, I forget which phase it is. So it was just a slight sliver of light. And we're approaching a new moon, so it's probably waning. But I opened my front door to check the temperature for a morning walk. So it was like 5 a.m. and it was just perfectly aligned with my front door.
Yes.
And I was just like, good morning, moon.
I love it. And that's something too. That's why each phase of the moon rises and sets at a different time and in a little bit of a different, part of the sky. So that's why you're going to see some moons at certain times of the day and not others. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I was a ridiculous age when I learned that as well. But, we were talking about kind of these big things that maybe how do you release these things, these big things, and with the journaling and doing the work. But there's also sometimes we just maybe need to release some of our emotions that we've kept bottled up. You can release a good cry. You can release a laugh. You can release anything that's just kind of been bought. Maybe you want to go outside and scream at the full moon.
Maybe you don't know what it is, but you just know something has to come out.
Let it out. Yeah. But the other thing too is not just what needs to be released, what needs to be celebrated. What maybe little tiny things could you think about that could be celebrated, right?
Release your gratitude.
Yes. Oh, perfect. Exactly. And if you do feel filled from the new moon, say you've actually set your intention and you feel like you've worked towards this and you do feel full, who could you release into, pour into that maybe needs some help? Right. So thinking about other people as well.
That's really beautiful, Amy. Thank you for that.
I had a really weird thought when we were when I was doing the notes for this about like, oh, the moon phase is like fly fishing. So you catch, you you cast out and you catch with the new moon, right? So you cast out with the new moon, and then as you're catching it and reeling it in, that then is sort of like the process of becoming the full moon. And then at the full moon, you release it back.
Catch and release.
Yes, catch and release, fly fishing. But then I thought of the trauma of the fish with that. And then I felt bad about it, but I still wanted to share it with everyone.
It's a mystical fish that is happy to be a part of your analogy.
There you go. If only I had gotten the Page of Cups, right?
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, the universe, I just wasn't too sure. Yes, the 9 of Wands. So last week we had the 4 of Wands, and this week we have the 9 of Wands. And if you can see, this person has been through some stuff. Okay. This person is like, oh my goodness, I have fought everything off. And now I've got this fence around me, sort of like a boundary. But maybe too, like when I think about Capricorn, like he's developed this structure around him and he's kind of resting now. But when I look at this card, then I think to myself, okay, what can you put down? Can you just set something down? Can you let anything go? Because you look pretty serious, like you want to hang on to all this stuff. So do you have anything to add?
Well, so the next card, the 10, is all about completion or a completion of a cycle, right? And so this 9 card also reminds you, you're almost there. Does it have to be perfect? Right? Like,
I love that.
Just keep going. Let go what you don't actually need to achieve this.
Yeah.
But then also, I've never really paid attention to him. I always saw this as a card of like hard work and keep going and be ambitious. But then when we were talking today, I was like, is that a bandage on his head? Dude,
yes.
Break. Take a knee, take a rest.
Yes. It's a bandage on his head. And the thing with the white, like it's the bandage. I mean, that's like spiritual, like he's gone through some stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He also, he looks kind of spent. He looks lost in thought and maybe even like looking over in the distance, like, is there more coming? Instead of just kind of being present in the here and now.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks, universe.
Yeah. What's happening next week?
So we've been talking a lot about these different cycles and how to put the intentions in the world and manifest and grow and see what it turns into, and then releasing what no longer serves us. And then, with Litha being really big for manifesting and bringing in and soaking in all this light, it's always about light. And so we're going to talk more about how to be more open to receiving. That you've put all this out into the world and you've said what you've wanted, and like, how do you release that control and be open to receiving? Because I keep seeing around social media, you can't miss what's intended for you, right? Like if it's really meant for you, you're not gonna miss it.
Yeah.
But you can maybe delay it if you are so focused on what it should be in your head, right? So maybe you put this intention out there and the universe is like, here you go. And you're completely missing it because you have a certain expectation in your head or a picture of what it should be. So just how to be more open to receiving what it is that you're looking for in whatever fashion it shows up. And just in general, even outside of the universe and mystical, it's hard to receive, right? It's really easy to be a giver. It's really easy to be a host. Can you just be a guest of life and just receive what people are giving you?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Excited to talk about that. So if you received this show well,
look at you.
Yeah, please share it with a friend. And if you have time, give us some love on your preferred platform with a rate, review, and subscribe. You can also reach out to us via Instagram and YouTube under The Brightly Podcast, or via email at brightlypodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening. We hope you have a bright and beautiful moon. Bye.
Love it.